Hello and welcome to this episode of RTO Insights, being brought to you by APRO, the Association of Progressive Rental Organizations, the National Trade Association for the Rent-to-Own Industry, and sponsored by Rent Direct, a division of Nationwide, the country's largest retail buying group. I thought I would talk today about the kiosk phenomenon. The good news is that the RTO industry is growing. There are, as all of you know, new business channels that are developing as a method of marketing and moving RTO goods and services. The FTC, Federal Trade Commission, got it right in 2000 when they studied the industry. They were looking at profits in the rent-to-own industry back when there were still profits in the business. And they said there was no evidence of price gouging, that merchants are only able to artificially raise prices above the market if they have some sort of monopolistic power, and the ease of entry into the RTO business is very low. According to the Federal Trade Commission, back then all you need is a storefront, delivery trucks, and an inventory of rental merchandise. Now, you don't need a storefront, you don't need delivery trucks, all you really need is a website. You can mail out your rent-to-own products with UPS, and soon, if you read the technological news, you're going to be able to deliver them with drones. The kiosk phenomenon is occurring. Some explanation is perhaps in order. Kiosk is an outlet in a retail store that offers the rental purchase transaction. By way of example, a customer might see a flyer in the newspaper or an ad on TV for a, let's say, sofa love seat combination, $9.99. And the ad goes on to say, we'll give you 2 years with no interest with acceptable credit, WAC, in the ads. That's important to this customer because he has no cash, he can't write a check for the Sofa Love, and he doesn't have enough left on his credit card to buy the purchase outright. So he goes into the store, he sees the Sofa Love on the floor with the $9.99 price tag, he sits on it, he loves it, he wants to buy it, and he goes back to the closing counter, and the retail merchant runs him through various tiers of consumer finance. It's called waterfalling. He try bank number 1, and if the customer craps out, he'll try bank number 2, finance company number 3, and finally he will say, well, we can't sell you that Sofa Love, but we can rent it to you. We have a rent-to-own program. Thus, the RTO kiosk concept. There are really 3 versions of the kiosk concept in a retail store. There's a manned kiosk with an actual RTO employee sitting in the store ready to talk to retail customers about rent-own. There are unmanned kiosks, which might be a computer terminal that is linked up to the rental dealer's website. And then there is the integrated kiosk model where the RTO application, RTO software, RTO agreement has been fully incorporated into the retailer's point of sale software so that it's a smooth process, and the retail merchant runs him through the waterfall financing and also runs him through the rental application and the rental agreement if the customer qualifies. If the customer can get the RTO deal, it may be that he will fill out his application on the internet. In theory, the rental dealer will verify that application on the spot, or at least that day. If he qualifies, he will be presented with a rental agreement to sign. They might print out a paper copy for him to hard sign and take with him. He might do an e-sign on the internet, also legal and enforceable. The store manager the store personnel might or might not take an initial payment from the customer, initial rental payment for the first week or the first month, and the retailer may in fact deliver the Sofa Love to the customer that day or shortly thereafter. However, importantly, once the rent-to-own deal is signed, that account belongs to the rental dealer, who is obviously not on the premises unless he's got an employee there. He's going to manage the account, he's going to maintain the property, he's going to pick it up if necessary, and the account is his. The relationship between the retail store and the RTO dealer is that the RTO dealer is going to actually buy the sofa love from the retailer. He will usually pay the full retail price to the retailer for that sofa love, which obviously increases cost of goods for the RTO dealer, but he's saving money by not having to advertise and find a new customer. Rental dealers that are interested in the kiosk concept have to be careful that they may not be willing to rent everything in the retailer's store. They have to sort of match, if they've got their own store, if the rental dealer's got his own store, he's going to have to match that retailer's inventory, at least the parts of it that he's willing to rent, with the stuff that he has in his store, because the rent-owned property is going to come back. The reason that customer is a rental customer is because he didn't have credit. The reason that he didn't have credit is because he doesn't pay his bills on time. The chances are he's not going to be paying the rent-to-own dealer on time, and the dealer's going to have to pick up some merchandise. He does not want to get stuck with elephant foot umbrella holders and one-of-a-kind chandeliers that the retailer has in his inventory. He's not going to want to rent those unless he gets them back and owns them forever. Interestingly, in the shed rental world, the backyard portable building world, some of the RTO dealers are actually paying a premium to get space with the retailers. They're paying 1% to 2% more than the cash price in order to keep out the competition and to get that business. So why are we talking about the kiosk business other than it is a phenomenon in the RTO world? It's certainly not going to go away, and it's not too far-fetched to suppose that in the not too distant future, every single TV appliance and furniture retailer in this country is going to have an RTO option. I'm talking about it because there's an opportunity for independents to get some of that business. Now, if you've got one store in a small town, you're not going to be able to go and negotiate with Best Buy to be their RTO dealer, but you've got local independent furniture dealers and appliance dealers and TV guys in your markets, and you could well do business with them with a kiosk model. Yes, you're going to have to pay more for the product than if you were to buy it from a wholesaler or a distributor, but you've added BOR and you have saved the expense of advertising and having to find a new customer because he's been handed to you on a platter by your local retailer. Because of how this transaction arises, there are some risks that customers will be confused about what they've done. They've seen an ad for the Sofa Love for $9.99. They've gone into the store. They've seen it on the showroom floor, cash price of $9.99. They've seen the advertisement for 2 years, no interest, with acceptable credit. They know or should know after they've sat at the closing counter that they don't have credit, but they've signed something, they've gotten the Sofa Love, and they may not really understand that they're just renting that Sofa Love. They haven't bought it. It is therefore very important that the retailer understand the RTO concept if he's going to explain it. If he's not going to explain it, then he needs to not talk about it and suggest that the customer address all inquiries to the 800 number that the RTO dealer is going to give him, or have that conversation at the RTO dealer's website. Because this is such a potential danger in the business, some of the states are looking at ways to increase the customer's information about the transaction. Oklahoma just passed a law, it became effective last November, where if you have a kiosk in a retail store, an RTO kiosk, you've got to give the customer an extra set of disclosures explaining that, hey, you're not buying the product, you are just renting it, you're not being charged interest, you can give it back at any time. It's an additional and further explanation of the RTO concept that the customer has to read and sign before he gets the merchandise. The message here is that the RTO pie is expanding. I want to make sure that everyone who watches this, both of you, are getting your as big a slice as you can of that pie. And remember, no matter where they come from, treat your customers like royalty. They deserve it.